I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the board meeting for May 20th, 2025. John, will you please do roll call?
I will. Annette Schreiner.
Here.
Eyre.
Yes.
Jim Salsbury.
Here.
Dick Long.
Present.
Karen Ford.
Yes. Thank you. First on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the May 6th, 2025 meeting. Board, you've been supplied with a typed copy of the minutes. Are there any corrections or questions? If there are none, may I please have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Dick.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Annette.
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
And Karen.
Yes.
Next on our agenda is the hearing of public concerns. Anyone in the audience present would like to come to the podium? Seeing none, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is to approve the Clerk-Treasurer's Report for April 30th of 2025. John?
Yes. I hate to say the same thing every month, but I'm going to. The board has been given the financial statements for the month ended April 30th, the bank reconciliation, and the various other reports. And either this evening or at any time, I would entertain any questions you might have on that.
Anybody have any questions for John? Comments? May I have a motion to approve the Clerk-Treasurer's Report for April 30th, 2025?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Bob?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
And Karen.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is a resolution. Derek? John, will you please number and read?
I will. Resolution number 18, 2025, revising the Bryan Communications Department General Rules and Regulations and corresponding exhibits in Section 3, Rate Addendum.
Now, Derek.
So with the recent discontinuation of the cable modem internet service, we're requesting that we revise the communication rules and regulations. A lot of this is a language cleanup, removing any references to the cable modem internet service, any associated rates, fees, or exhibits. We did also remove the web hosting services. Those have not been offered for many years, but just a chance to clean those up. I do want to note that on page 14, the two words "man services" were inadvertently redlined. So I would just ask that you approve the revisions and allow us to make that correct. If you have any questions, we're happy to answer. Otherwise, we request that the rules be approved.
Just housekeeping is all it is, right?
Clean up.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second.
Bob?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Annette?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And Karen.
Yes.
Next on the agenda is a water system study improvement plan update. Derek will do a presentation.
So I have just a few slides tonight as we continue to talk about water system improvements. The last update I gave you was that we provided some project timelines. We talked about a couple of the required studies. I'll just preface the whole thing by saying there's a lot of detailed information in here. I'll just go through this at a high level. If you have any questions now or later, please let me know. So we'll start with the timeline. This is looking at a rehab of the current treatment plant and also the development of a new well field. It's kind of broken into three segments, if you will, kind of a preliminary, a design, and a construction phase. Each one of those has multiple objectives in it. The timeline is projected with a start date of January 2026. And you're looking at 6.5 years plus to complete that. So that would be a rehab of the current plant and developing a new well field. In the preliminary phase there, the hydro study and distribution system model, those are the two things we'll talk about tonight in a little bit of detail. But this would be a timeline for the construction of a new treatment plant and also a new well field. Again, this has a project start date of January 2026, and we're looking at 8+ years to complete. And same thing for this option, the hydro study, the distribution system model are required. The distribution system model, so we reached out to Jones and Henry. We received a report and presented some of the findings of that study. They gave us a proposal to complete this model. They actually gave us two options. The first one here is what they call the basic option. And it develops a distribution model that includes all your water lines, your water line sizes, materials, installations, all your valves, pumps, etc. You'd also incorporate your 3 largest water users in this, as well as all of your billing information. And they use that to help determine demand and flows in the distribution system. Once they compile all this data, it gets calibrated based on a series of fire hydrant protests that they'll go out and conduct. And then in the end, then will give you different pressure areas, and it'll give you all the fire flow availabilities at all the hydrants. And so really the intent of all of this is to provide hydraulic analysis to support a new plant, the high service pumps, and then also any transmission mains that need to be tied into the existing distribution system. As far as reporting, they give us a full summary of the development and calibration. They include all the necessary maps, give us recommendations. We receive digital and printed reports. And also this model is developed in a software called WaterPad. We would have the option to purchase that software for engineering department to maintain that model. It could be expensive. We didn't look too much into the cost of it. Or just going forward, we could have Jones and Henry just annually update the model. So the total cost of the basic distribution system model is $39,500. The second proposal, or second option that they gave us is what they call their premium option. So that includes everything in the basic that I just kind of went over. It also includes a unidirectional flushing plan. This is a plan that's developed to flush your water mains by valve operation. So you close certain valves to force water through certain directions, and what that does is it increases the velocity, it helps the scouring to clean the pipes. They would develop a map, and that would kind of be the route in which you flush through your distribution system. Also provide water quality analysis. They would determine water age. You do that through sampling of chlorine. They'd also give us a full system evaluation report of valves, hydrants, tanks, other system components, and then also kind of rank all of those items as far as how critical they are to the distribution system. And they would also give us an energy study, just to look at the operations. Is there any way that we can change scheduling, change pumping to kind of minimize energy usage and improve efficiency? The total cost of the premium option was $108,400. The second study that I mentioned that we have to do is the hydro study. This one is actually broken into 4 different tasks or phases. We would be looking at task number 1. Down the road, we'd have to continue with 2, 3, and 4. But task 1 is a preliminary evaluation of groundwater resources. It's data collection and review, looking at publicly available data, well logs, groundwater resource maps, potential pollution maps, topography. They would also use the DNR and USGS reports that are available to help compile all of this data. Bennett Williams, some of you may be familiar with them. They have a long history working with the utility, so they have a lot of our data already. In 2002, they produced the source water protection plan, and then in 2015, they did the delineation of our source water protection area. So they have all of that information available, but they still want to reevaluate everything. That was in 2015, so more data is available today. Specifically with the solar field, in 2010, Tritium did a 24-hour pump test. It seems like the more preferred method would be a 72-hour test. So they want to go back and analyze the data for that 24-hour test to see how accurate it is, see if the 72-hour test is necessary. They'd also take a look at floodplain maps. They review withdrawal records, and then also look at the locations of major power lines and underground electric transmission lines. They also take into consideration water quality. They would take a look at the EPA's ambient groundwater monitoring program. There's wells throughout the state that are part of this program that they sample and keep record of. Actually, our well number 4 is part of this program. And then as far as the results, they share those with the staff, prepare written reports and a summary of findings. They build recommendations for potential areas, maybe for further groundwater development. And from there, you can decide on the specific areas to further explore. So task 1, the cost is $59,500. With the distribution system model and the hydro study, these are the 2 studies we're looking at, trying to get started as soon as we can. So task 2, I'll just go over briefly because we're down the road. But initial exploration, confirmed presence of sand and gravel. So kind of further exploring geology, maybe drilling some test wells or test borings, and then providing those results to the utility, and then providing recommendations as to whether any of the sites, maybe warrant an initiative to acquire more land. Basically just doing due diligence instead of just saying, we have this over field, maybe the well should go there, but taking a look at all the areas. And again, the cost on this really is to be determined. It would be based on the information. Task 3, performing aquifer testing in the proposed well fields. So maybe once a site or potentially sites are chosen, you would install the well with the proper diameter for pump testing, the required EPA paperwork and approvals, the 72-hour test, and then also samples for water quality. And again, this cost would be based on the information of taking test 2. And the final one would be task 4. That's the actual development and construction of the new well field. Figuring out the final layout of the well field, how many wells. And then once you do that, of course, we'll have to update our source water protection plan and also our management plan. So the source water protection plan is the flow model that you see the 1 and 5-year time trials on. So, and again, this cost is all based on information that's learned in the previous task. So just a couple of recommendations. As far as the distribution system model goes, would recommend working with Jones and Henry on this. We would prefer the basic option for $39,500. Really, it just contains the essential data that we need now to continue to work toward water system improvements, provide support for current cleaning and operations. The premium option, it does have a lot of valuable information, but today it's not essential. Some of those features we already manage internally, and it is a little bit of an a la carte. So if we wanted a unidirectional flushing plan, we could do that at any time. So we would recommend the basic. And then Bennett Williams for the hydro study task 1. Again, we've had a long working relationship with Bennett Williams. They have a lot of our data. They're familiar with the aquifer in the area, so we would recommend that. So the total cost of these 2 studies is $99,000. These would also be capital expenses. So we took a look at the capital budget just to see where we sit today. A couple things to point out: well 1 rehab and the high service pump 3, I believe, rehab. Both of those were delayed or scratched, if you will. We had to use those funds to repair the filter earlier this year. So those 2 projects have been delayed. East Mulberry Street Waterline project, I don't know exactly when, but pretty soon that's going out for bid. So we don't have a real good idea of what that cost will be. The projects we have scheduled for this year, a lot of the materials have been purchased. The projects haven't started yet, but there still is stone to be purchased, and then streets to fix, restoration efforts, things like that. And then the other big project is the water treatment header and control valves, and we're waiting on a contractor's proposal for that. So really what I'm suggesting is that there's a lot of unknowns right now. There's a lot of variables to really commit to doing these 2 studies right at this minute. I think if we wait a little bit later into the year, let some of these projects kind of materialize, finish, and see what funds we do have available, we may be able to start some things. The option, I guess, is there to ask for additional appropriations if we want these started. When you think about the timelines and the lengths of what these projects are going to take, we'd like to get started as soon as possible. But when you consider the budget today, maybe we should wait just a little bit. So flexibility, Bennett Williams, they were pretty honest and said that they can probably start until August anyways. They also indicated that towards the end of the year or later in the year, if we had some funds available, we could go that route and then we can budget the remaining part for 2026. So there's some flexibility there. So really just wanted to give you a quick update on these studies. That's kind of what they entail. Any questions or comments?
Derek, I have a question. On the hydro study, task 1, that could start probably this year, August of this year.
That was what they indicated.
Okay. What's the time frame between task 1 and task 4?
Well, from what Jones and Henry provided, 12 to 18 months for task 1 to task 4. My guess is it might be a little longer than that.
Okay.
But,
Plus 2 years?
Yeah, I would say 18 to 24 months.
Okay. After the task 4 is completed, then the process starts to develop the plan itself.
So you kind of have to think of them as, this is one big project, but developing a well field kind of over here, we plant or rehab over here. So it's one big project, but we can kind of think of them as 2 separate projects.
Okay.
Again, a lot of information in there. If you have any questions, just let me know, or any comments. But just wanted to give you an update.
So parts of the study can be done and completed and it won't hold up other things necessarily? I mean, this is 12 to 18 months. So would this 6 months kick in after this 18 months here?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like the distribution system model, that's the 6 month, that's separate from the hydro study. They're 2 separate studies. But, you have to start with the hydro studies to kind of, keep working your way down this timeline.
That's a long time.
We need to get, I'm just gonna tell you my opinion. We need to get this started. This is gonna be, you know, I've been reading up on everything that we got from the beginning, you know. Man, we got an aging plant that's
Our old time.
we got our fingers crossed. Study, all these studies and things that we gotta, the permitting and everything we gotta get together is gonna take a long time.
And we had to postpone rehab on
Yep.
2 of the wells to,
A well and eye service, yeah. And honestly, that's kind of a normal year, you know, you plan capital projects. but
Right.
Things change, things happen. Unfortunately, that did, so. I would agree, we would like to get started as soon as possible, but maybe we just wait till mid-year and look and see where we are and come back to you.
I'm not in favor of that. I'm in agreement. I think we need to get started sooner the better. We all talked about that last meeting too, so just throwing out my comment as well. Don't want to delay things because it's going to end up being a 10-year project instead of 5-year if we keep delaying because of whatever reason,
Fear.
when we know we've already got problems.
Yeah. And I have a question. It just popped into my head as you were talking. Could we postpone that well rehab? I mean, if you look down the road, 100 miles, we are not going to use those wells if we create a new well field.
So it's already been postponed, delayed because we used the funds
Correct.
to fix the filter. But I'd have to go back and look and see exactly when the last time that one was rehabbed. We still have to find that balance of,
Right.
you know, keeping everything in operation and not just kind of neglecting it too. So I'd have to go back and look and see exactly when it was last rehabbed. But we can continue to keep an eye on the budget, and John and I can have some conversations, and maybe at our next meeting, we can come back to us.
I'm afraid what could happen if we keep delaying
Correct.
things.
Yeah,
and
I'm worried about it,
delaying
too.
and
this is,
delaying.
they come back to bite us.
I don't think delays are an
That's
option.
scary thought.
We can live without electricity, but we need that water, good water.
Or else we're boiling the water. Boil it.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
That's my opinion too.
I think we're on agreement.
I think we're all in agreement there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Show me the numbers that show a different picture than what I'm seeing in my mind, and I can
Okay.
change my mind easily, so.
Any more questions or comments for Derek on the water system study improvement? Okay. On to the next agenda item is a discussion on committee structure. Mark?
Sure. So I wanted to, this issue actually came to my attention, both the city council and BPA, because you have similar structures, and I met with city council about it last night. You know, you have, and Derek shared with me, you have essentially 5 2-member committees. From a best practices standpoint and from a as safe as possible from a legal standpoint, I'm recommending that you move to what is known as a committee of the whole structure. So a committee of the whole structure would mean that all 5 of you are on each committee. There is a committee chair assigned to each of these committees and only a chair. That way, if a committee chair has an issue a finance issue that comes up, that committee chair can, he or she needs to vet something with one other board member, other BPA member, they can pick that member for that particular discussion. Those 2 people can meet, and they can meet without without worrying about the sunshine laws, because as a committee of the whole, 2 of the people would be meeting, the whole being the full board. So if 2 of your 5 are meeting on an issue, then you don't have a sunshine law question. Now, that chair cannot then pick up the phone and call the next one and the next one. That's illegal round robining, you know that. But, so that would be my recommendation, and that way you don't have a possible issue regarding 2-member committees that may arguably be subject to the sunshine laws. So, You know, and I think it's as simple as, you know, for you folks, for passing a motion, should you be so inclined, assigning one member of the BPA to be a finance, water, communication, electric, and HR chair, and then leave it at that. All 5 of you are in every committee, and then, like I said, as issues come up, you can pick up the phone or meet in person with one other person without violating the sunshine law.
And it could be a different person every time if we so choose.
Probably should be a different person every time. That way it's not a
Appearance of.
appearance, yeah, it doesn't appear to be a committee, that's right, that's right. And I can tell you that, you know, where I'm the law director in the city of Bexley, they have a 7-member council, and they used to have 3-member committees, and it was very difficult to just pick up the phone and call somebody when you're you know, with the 3-member committee, so they've gone to the committee of the whole. They have a chair for each committee, and then they, you know, they can have up to 3 people get together, because there's 7 of them, without worrying about any sunshine law issues.
I had a quick question. Can you walk through an example? Like, for example, Annette and I are on the finance committee. We both
We're on it.
Yeah, we both show up at the same time for discussions. How would this change the way you see it?
Annette, again, just to use it, Annette would be the chair of the finance committee, and
Okay.
and all 4 or 5 of you would be members of the finance committee. So then Annette picks up the phone and says, hey, we gotta work on the budget, and she asks you, Bob, to help her on that, as one of the 5 committee members. So the 2 of you are meeting, and a majority of the committee is not meeting.
So, for example, then if we, let's say you said budget. So, let's say he and I met to discuss the budget, we can still include Derek?
Absolutely, you can
Okay.
still include Derek, John, whoever.
So-
Non-board members are fair
Okay,
game.
so then, let's say that next time around, so Bob's, let's say, kind of all informed on how the budget's gonna fall out, he brought questions, whatever, so then, the next time I'm gonna call up Dick and have a similar discussion with him, and I'd still be okay?
Not about that same exact topic.
Okay, so we'd have to pick a different,
Next time around, so I want to make sure we're on the same page. So you and Bob, you're the finance chair, you work with Derek, you work with John, and then when bigger issues come up, something comes up, you say, Bob, help me out, let's sit down and go through this budget. You cannot then pick up the phone and talk to one of the other people about that topic.
so we'd have to talk about something completely different.
If there's another topic that comes in front of the budget committee or the finance committee, yes.
But if there were multiple budget meetings, you could have Bob come to every one of them.
Right, but you couldn't have
For
other different
continuity of the
subjects.
conversation.
Okay.
So the initial meeting would just be Annette with Derek and John, for example. And that would be it.
Not necessarily,
It
like
could be-
if I would call a council member or our chair and say, budget hearings are November 19th. They're gonna call whoever they choose on the council, that one other person, and say, we're gonna meet in the mayor's office for a day. Similar to when you guys would come up too, for that.
So still only one person per topic.
Yes, that is, the chair plus one person per topic is a very good, accurate way of looking at it.
Now, is there, I'm sorry, Karen, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, how do the rest of us find out what the topic of discussion
There are
was and
two-
the outcome of it?
There are 2 ways. You can provide that information, they can provide you that information in writing. That is totally fine as long as there's not emails going back and forth with a bunch of questions or opinions. Or you wait to an actual open meeting when you're all together.
Because we just don't like surprises.
Well, of course.
Sometimes
No,
that-
and you should, and again, I
See where I'm coming from, that.
that's right, so it's totally fine for, again, just to pick on the finance committee, it's totally fine for the chair of the finance committee to send an email to the other 4 members of this board saying, here are the budget numbers that we've come up with. We will discuss this at our next meeting, or something like that. Absolutely fine. Like I said, as long as there's not a back and forth on email or by phone between multiple members on that topic.
So the chair of that committee can let the rest of us know without violating the,
The chair can provide information.
To
The
the
chair
meeting,
cannot
to the
say,
next meeting.
ask you, what do you think?
Right.
Shoot me an email, let me know your thoughts. Yes, but
Right.
absolutely, they can provide information and should.
okay.
Yeah.
That would have to be discussed in open meeting.
An open
Correct.
meeting, then we can discuss what
Or
topics.
or written.
100%.
Okay.
What would be the difference then? Maybe I'm missing something here, but what would be the difference then from what you're proposing as opposed to having the superintendents attend? I mean, it's stagger them, of course.
Oh, the superintendent.
Superintendents aren't subject to the sunshine law, only the 5 of you are.
Well, I'm just, okay,
So
I'm
they can
getting
attend
to
every
that. I
meeting.
mean, have them come to the meeting and make a presentation, we can ask questions in open session. I mean, we're talking, protecting ourselves from the sunshine law, I mean.
Well, because sometimes sometimes discussions have to occur that aren't that require a more timely discussion than you can get everybody together. But there's nothing that prevents you from doing that, that's right. You certainly can say, okay, again, just staying on the topic of the budget, we're going to have a meeting of all 5 of us. It's a special meeting or a regular meeting, and we're gonna spend the time going through these budget questions or issues. You absolutely can do that.
So it
But
could-
what I'm suggesting, I'm sorry.
So it could be a line item on a board meeting.
Sure, that's right. And what I'm suggesting doesn't change. You could do that now, and you still will be able to do that.
It just seems simpler to me.
No, we haven't had a special meeting in many years.
Couple years.
Good?
That means we haven't had any emergencies. Look
Right.
at us.
Now, does that, just to lay it out on the table, that follows the same procedure, same outline as our regular board meetings?
The
where you
special
have
meeting.
to notify the press and advertise, okay.
And the only difference between a special meeting and a board meeting that I can think of is that the special meeting, you cannot deviate from the agenda. And your regular meetings, you can add to or subtract from. And then there's actually something called emergency meetings, which you have to give like 1 hour advance notice, but it's gotta be an oh crap moment. Hopefully you never have one of those.
Right.
So if I were to email them out a summary of discussion that, or a summary of information that may have been discussed in the budget, then, so if they were to have a question to come back to reply all or reply
should not
one?
ask a
They
question.
can't
They can just
reply to you at
prepare
all.
their questions to be asked.
At the meeting
Okay.
or of Derek. Because again, Derek or John and that are not subject to the sunshine law because they're not a member of this
So-
body.
So the key has to be in the public domain.
Correct. You got it.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so I can email information there just to read it
But they
and
can't
save their
reply.
questions for whoever,
But they can't
That's right.
reply.
but
Yep.
they can't reply.
Everything's
They
in
can-
public
they
domain,
can-
it has to be public, okay.
Exactly. Now, again, that doesn't apply to things like, hey, we need a special meeting, let me know if which of these dates work. That's fine. It's when you're discussing, even by email, substantive business of the organization.
I have a dumb question. Who monitors this?
Those folks may,
How do we do
and,
that if you're email?
what's that?
How do we do that if you're email?
You make public records requests,
How do
yes.
every day?
I would prefer not.
Please don't, I have so many of those.
But the answer also is people who are interested.
Please let it go.
in particular subjects.
So there's sunshine training that you guys can attend to that will teach you all of these things that I would highly recommend, but I think, isn't it the Ethics Commission and the State Attorney General's office that
Well,
really?
the Attorney General's office monitors it, but individual citizens can from time to time when, if an issue has come up. I had one really weird situation where one particular city council member, and not in Bexley, in another city I represent, sued the other city council members because he believed they were engaging in unlawful meetings. Turns out they weren't. But there's a private cause of action that can be filed. And the other thing to keep in mind is that you pass a resolution or a budget or whatever, anything you do that a court determines was done in violation of the sunshine law, that you got there somehow, then that gets set aside too. So that's the risk.
Functionally, all this conversation about texting and communicating to the other members, that exists now. We're not allowed to do that stuff now. That doesn't change.
Right.
All that changes is that the second board member in the room is just one,
Less than a majority.
yeah,
Thank you.
exactly.
Yeah, no, you're right. Thank you for
When-
clarifying that.
A question, just theoretical. Would we be better off to just to do away with committees and just forget it? And just have the department heads, the supers, like we did every 3 months with the committee meetings? Just have them give us a rundown of all the projects, just like we did before. Then if any of us have any questions, the 5 of us could walk in one at a time, or even 2 at a time, correct?
Not back to back to back, but yes, 2 of you could walk in, yeah.
And talk to him and say, what's this about, what's this, blah, blah, blah.
Or you could ask questions in the meeting where they make the presentation.
Yeah, that's true.
Or the option, have an open meeting where the superintendent comes in and makes a presentation as on the agenda, because we're all here, it's open, so therefore, there's no
It's all
issues.
fair game then, that's
Yeah,
right.
so each quarter, maybe we have a different superintendent come in and give a presentation on whatever,
That's kind of what I was proposing.
versus meeting in private.
Sounds
Just
simple to
meet-
me.
Yeah, just meeting public. Each,
I mean, it's the board's decision, but there is value and benefit to having committees.
Right.
And being able to have those discussions. I would recommend that we just meet on an as-needed basis for the committees.
Sure.
And we can work on a written report or a report to the board here during a public meeting.
What are your committees right now?
I think,
Finance, water, communications, electric, and HR.
In the HR one, I think you need a committee chairperson, just because if there is an employee thing that crops up, it's not just HR and Derek and Mark,
that's a sensitive topic.
yeah.
You have to-
that'd be you and that.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily want to have.
Because normally, the chair and vice chair
Yeah.
are HR, so, and for issues like that.
Okay.
Well, it seemed to me, especially HR, and obviously, an emergency can come up in any situation, but of the 5 committees, HR is the one that stands out, that might
Yes.
need Derek needing to talk to a board member now.
I mean, I found, just because I work with budgets on my own job, being more informed of the budget process here is very helpful. Being more involved with that, even if it, obviously in a bird's eye view, but that was very helpful.
If I may, you can do both of what you're talking about here. So, or what we're talking about. You can still have committee chair, committee of the whole structure, committee chairs, but also have people come to the board meetings, like you were suggesting, and make those reports and talk through them and answer questions and have the give and take in a public session. So they're not mutually exclusive.
That makes a lot more sense.
Because even on the budget, when you do have that committee meeting, your group is still coming through and presenting all their capital projects, all of their, before it goes to city council.
I agree, I think the HR is a sensitive topic and it has to be addressed separate, but I think the other committees could be done in an open forum, part of the monthly meeting. And that could be done on a quarterly basis, or as needed, like Darren says. I mean, typically the budget comes up in the fall, you know, but at the same point in time, you always bring people in to do capital discussions, so that might be the appropriate time then.
But even if, and again, all that makes total sense, but even though that may be, there'll be far fewer situations with the communications committee or whatever, does it make sense still though to have one of you named as the chair of that committee, so that way Derek or anybody else has contact on the board, they know they can call for, again, who knows what might come up. So again, you can still do all the stuff you're mentioning here. I think that's a great idea. But I would encourage you to continue to have at least a committee chair, one of you be a committee chair for the 5 committees.
For purposes of helping Derek in case something
That's right.
unusual pops up.
Right.
So the structure's in place for that, but at the same point in time, we could add to it by bringing.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
I agree, that makes sense to me.
I think I'm gonna throw something out to you that I've found practical on my end is I don't want to ever be accused of calling just one council member and it always being the same council member, even if it's the chair. And so these committees are helpful for me because council has determined amongst themselves who my first call is going to be on an issue that circles around that committee. I don't know if you feel the same way, but it just gives us some guidance as we're doing day to day on who would be the person to call so that it's,
My thoughts.
I don't want to be accused of playing a favorite.
Right,
I'm
but
sure.
my thoughts would be that you would contact the chairperson, and from that point it would be versus any of us four.
Well, they're saying a different chairperson for each committee. So
Yeah.
Karen might be
No, right,
communications, Dick might be
Sure.
water. And then so Derek would reach out to Dick, say, this is what's going on. Dick would say, well, I think we need to have a meeting. I'm gonna see if Jim's available.
Can you do that opposed to having one for all 5?
I'm not sure, I don't understand what for all 5.
Is that what you're saying, Annette?
No, that is not what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
No,
misunderstood
no.
that.
Each committee would have a chairperson.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
That makes
Instead of
sense.
having one chairperson for all 5.
Right.
Right, I'm saying, that's what I'm saying too.
Yeah.
One of you should, one should be finance, one of you should be water,
Oh,
one
okay.
communication, one electric, one HR.
But the second person is not tied to that committee.
Right.
So
Right. You can
you
pick and
may
choose.
have a water emergency, you're the chair, and first time you're gonna call Karen. And then 2 months down the road, there's another water emergency, and this time you're gonna call Bob. That's the purpose of it.
Right.
Then Derek can come to me if there's a water issue.
Right. He knows who to get a
Gotcha,
hold of.
okay, I got it. Makes sense.
But then from there, then, I do like the idea of the quarterly updates, whether it just be a written one in our minutes, that we can have a discussion if we want, because that's what I'm hearing from you too. And then, as, let's say, so Jim, let's say you have a question on Dick's Water Committee, then you can say, in open session, whatever, can you please check out XXX? So then they can get back to whoever to get us an answer, just like back and forth, just like we normally do, if we have questions. Or if there are no questions, well, then that's fine, right? Or if we need that, the water department to come in and explain something, then we'll set them up to come in on a regular board meeting.
That
Correct?
makes total sense, absolutely.
Has this whole thing been presented to council also?
Last night, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In 86-degree weather.
I was not gonna bring up the heat because I felt like I brought it up enough. Our brains were not fully functioned last night because the room temperature was actually 86 degrees.
Whoa.
Wow. Natural gas?
So I mean, did council
Chiller
have any
broke.
ideas?
I think
Or
they're
any-
going to do the one chair for a committee of the whole and figure that out amongst themselves. They did not bring up, I think I kind of heard that insinuated that maybe the council president would just be the committee chair. And the reason they didn't is, Mary has a full-time job, is not retired, just like Annette, so there are gonna be days where maybe she's not as available as someone else in an emergency, so it gives us a little flexibility there, so. Because we do have some retired folks and some full-time folks and some part-time folks on our council, so there's a little, I kind of try to keep track of their schedules a little bit for that purpose too. But yes, we had the discussion, I think it's going to be a one-person chair, committee of the whole kind of situation for us going forward. I'm supposed to bring back who's on what committee at a subsequent meeting so they can discuss that.
So, what's next? Do we have to make a motion on something, or
I would,
let the board chair decide what we're gonna do? And
I think you need a motion to, you need a motion to establish a committee of the whole, and a motion, you tell me, maybe you don't need a motion for this, maybe the board chair normally just assigns committees.
So they did a motion to accept.
Okay, so then you would need a motion to assign a committee chair for the 5 committees.
Okay, let's do this. There's been a lot of ideas tossed around. We don't need to make a decision on this tonight. Let's get a summary of where we want this to actually go and how, let's have a plan laid out of how we want this all to roll out. And then we can do, once everybody's in agreement, let's say maybe for the next meeting, then we can make sure we're all on the same page, make sure we have it right with Mark, and then we can do a motion. So we have like a new guideline.
Yep.
Is everybody okay with that?
Agree with smart move.
Sounds good.
The beauty of what is being discussed is that you have full flexibility, as Mark has said. You can have 1 or 2 of you meet in private with Derek. You can have all 5 of you meet. You can have your department heads come in. I mean, you have the flexibility to have a public meeting with all 5 of you or a non-public meeting with any 2 of you.
Okay.
All right, well, I'll work with Derek and get a summary for you for your next meeting.
Any other discussion on that? Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is to affect the semi-monthly disbursements, so may I have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved. Second.
Dick?
Yes.
Jim? Annette?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
And Karen?
Yeah. Next on the agenda is comments from BPA and staff. Derek, I'm going to start with you.
Just a couple things. This Friday, May 23rd, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Fountain City Amphitheater. They're hosting a Wheels on Display event. This is a touch-a-truck style event. It's not designed for kids to get up close to equipment that they usually see from a distance. So we do have a couple employees and a couple pieces of equipment that will be.
It's open for adults too.
Yeah, you can go
Sounds
play ball.
great.
I was gonna say, because I'd like to go.
So, this Friday, 4 to 6.
I love it.
One other thing too is just want to update the board and thank Kevin Rao and Rainer Clemens. They responded to a mutual aid request in Lansing, Michigan. They left on Friday afternoon following the Thursday evening storms. As of this afternoon, they're still there. They don't have any update when they'll be released, but other AMP member communities, Napoleon, Montpelier, and some of the Michigan members also responded. So want to thank them, and then also wish everybody a happy Memorial Day weekend.
Mayor Schlein.
I actually have a couple things. One, do you know, is that gonna be on Avenue B for the touch-a-truck? Because without this rain, I can't imagine we're gonna put it right at the amphitheater.
I'm not sure.
I'll figure that out and let you know by Friday. Memorial Day Parade and celebration and honor will be Monday. Obviously, line up at the Goodwill parking lot at 9 a.m. We proceed to the Fountain Grove Cemetery for a ceremony. High school band will be performing some songs as well. Color Guard will be there. So I do want to point that to your attention, one, for the public for traffic purposes, and also if anyone is certainly welcome to attend and honor the fallen on Memorial Day. And a congratulations to all of our graduates for the class of 2025. We have several employees who have children that will be graduating either last weekend or this weekend, and we're really excited to see what their future holds.
John?
Nothing else.
Mr. Fisher?
Nothing.
Mr. Betts?
No.
Joe? Paper? Bill? Karen?
Just one thing, I want to thank Derek for the water improvement study. Thought about that. Appreciate all you said. You're very knowledgeable on that topic anyway.
Just like to get the water thing going. Say again, the faster we can get her going, the better we be. Hats off to the guys for mutual aid. Understand there was even guys from Westerville,
There could have been, yeah.
Southern Ohio.
Yeah, it sounds like there was quite a few that responded.
Yeah. And, yeah, other than that, happy Memorial Day, everybody be safe. No drinking, no fireworks. That's all I have.
Jim?
I don't know what I can add to that.
I was gonna say, that's a tough one to follow.
I appreciate the no fireworks
I was
comment.
gonna say, that's a tough one to follow.
Yeah, no, I agree with Dick. I think the water project, we need to deal with that in time.
Yeah, it's already gonna take long enough.
Yeah. Other than that, just everybody enjoy Memorial Day holiday safely.
I'm in consensus with the group on the water study, but I also would like to add help from the public to make water awareness of what we're going through. I think a lot of people I've talked to are unaware that we have a water plant that's been here since 1972 that needs to be replaced, and it takes 8 to 10 years to replace that. So I ask if you guys could help us make that awareness to the public so that it's not a blind side to the people. So I just ask for your help. And, in agreement with everyone else here, so thank you.
I will just add again, congratulations to all of our graduates. Exciting time for them and their lives and what the fall holds. Be safe Memorial Day. And again, you know, with the water city system, I think you made that pretty clear. I don't think there's anything else right now, so we are going to take a brief recess, and we will be going into executive session to discuss pending litigation with the city attorney. And in executive session, I would like BPA members, Derek, Mayor Schlade, and John and Mark to attend.